King of Lightning uploaded a video yesterday with the controversial yet extremely bold title, Why Shanks is Stronger Than Mihawk. In this video, I'll be coming up with my own take in response to his take on Shanks vs Mihawk. Make sure you guys check out his video, the link to which will be in the description, so that you guys can understand where he's coming from and what his stance is on this topic. And make sure you subscribe to him if you haven't already, which you most likely have considering how prominent he is in the One Piece community, but on the off chance that you haven't, subscribe to him because he makes fantastic content. The topic of Shanks vs Mihawk has been around for years, and it gets heated. You have your diehard Shanks fanboys on one side who are almost always Yonko fanboys that think that the Yonko reigns supreme above every other individual in the world of One Piece, and then on the other side you have your diehard Mihawk fans who think he stands at the absolute pinnacle of power. There are a lot of things you have to consider for this argument, and in this video I will try to go through most things there are to consider. I believe Mihawk is stronger than Shanks. In fact, I think the possibility of Shanks being stronger than Mihawk is something that I cannot even consider. But before I get into making my case, I want to make a few things clear. This is a One Piece power scaling video. I will be talking about two individuals we have never seen in a serious battle situation. There is a lot to go off of and come to a convincing argument, but nothing is as clear cut as you may think it is. At the end of the day, everybody reads manga in their own way and has their own understandings and own interpretations of the series, especially with One Piece, a series filled with various vague answers. My point is that the thoughts I'll be sharing with you guys in today's video are merely my interpretation of things within the story. I'm going to be using objective facts, canon material from the manga, from the data books and from the novels to support my arguments. But at the end of the day, this is how I see things. Maybe you take these objective facts and you see them in a different light. You're obviously entitled to see things in your own way, so please don't be offended by the way I see things. On that note though, I hope you guys enjoy this video. As far as I know, the general consensus in the One Piece community is that the Yonko reign supreme in the discussion of power. Generally, people's top 4 strongest characters in the series that are alive are always Yonko. I personally disagree with this notion. I think you can make a very convincing case for Dragon and some of the admirals, specifically Akainu, when it comes to the strongest characters alive in the world of One Piece, but that is a discussion for another day and another video. For this video, I also believe you can make a very convincing case for the world's strongest swordsman, Dracula Mihawk. When it comes to the Yonko title and Mihawk's title, I want to clear up this very big misconception. A lot of people seem to believe that the Yonko are the 4 strongest pirates in the world of One Piece. Although this could be the case, this has never been stated in the series. In chapter 432, Garp said that the Yonko are the 4 greatest pirates. Greatest, not strongest. We know that being a Yonko takes into account various things outside of power. In order to be a Yonko, you need to have territories, you need to have authority over individuals, you need to have strong subordinates, as well as obviously being strong. However, strength is not the only thing you need to be a Yonko. The title of Yonko is not a title of strength, it is a title of influential and political power in the world of One Piece. It is a title of authority. Mihawk's title, on the other hand, it is a title of sheer power and strength. Strength and strength alone. Sekai Saikyo no Kenshi is Mihawk's title, the world's strongest swordsman. Not the greatest, not the most skilled, the strongest. The strongest of every single individual on the planet who falls under the term swordsman. His title is actually very similar to Whitebeard's title. Whitebeard's title was Sekai Saikyo no Otoko. Whitebeard was the world's strongest man. The strongest of every single individual on the planet who falls under the term man. That obviously includes women, even though they aren't men, they fall under mankind. Whitebeard is the strongest of mankind. Regardless, the point is that Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman, which is a position of sheer power, whereas Shanks is a Yonko, which is a position of authority. In order to fully grasp the immense weight that Mihawk's title bears, we have to reference his Vivre card. Mihawk's Vivre card states, and I quote directly from the libraryofahara.com, He trained relentlessly for many years, challenging more and more powerful foes until he had no more worthy challengers. He is the world's strongest swordsman, who sits at the top as the strongest of all swordsmen. So what does this mean? King of Lightning seems to believe there are distinctions in the realm of swordsmen, and there are terms like true swordsman or pure swordsman, and that is what Mihawk's title was referencing. He believes that Mihawk is the world's strongest true swordsman, making him the person who is most skilled at using the blade. But the way I see it, this is merely his own forced agenda that invalidates Oda's words. Mihawk has only ever been referred to as the world's strongest swordsman, not the world's strongest true swordsman. We have never seen that term in the series. This term, this true or pure swordsman, it literally doesn't exist, and it's merely a fan-made delusion created so that fans can push their own fallacious and biased agendas. Now, if you look at a dictionary definition of what a swordsman is, the answer you'll get is somebody who fights with a sword. It's that simple in the real world. However, in One Piece, in the eyes of Oda, I believe it is a little more complicated than that. I believe the way Oda views swordsmen is as follows. A swordsman is an individual whose fighting style revolves around the use of a sword. This means everybody who is at their best with a sword is a swordsman. Well, what about people with abilities outside of their sword? What about people with devil fruits? This is where your own interpretation has to come to play. Is Trafalgar Law a swordsman, or is he purely a devil fruit fighter? Does his main fighting style revolve around his sword or his fruit? Well, we've actually never seen Law use his blade without using his devil fruit in conjunction with it. This would imply that he is more reliant on his fruit than he is his sword, because we have seen him use very powerful devil fruit abilities without his blade, like the Gamma Knife for example. But still, he relies on his sword and almost uses it as a scalpel in battle situations. He parries his opponents with it, and without his swords, he cannot use his severing abilities, which is the main thing he does in fights. If Law didn't have his sword against Virgo, he wouldn't be able to cut Virgo, and well, the mountain in Punk Hazard, in half. This tells me Law is a swordsman because his fighting style revolves around the use of a sword, even though he uses his fruit in conjunction with it. I believe his fruit and his sword, they go hand in hand. If Law was missing one of them, he would be ridiculously nerfed, and he wouldn't be half the fighter that he is with both of them. Another example of a swordsman with a devil fruit is Fujitora. We've actually never seen Fujitora use his sword without using it in conjunction with his fruit, but he literally has a blind swordsman character design, and Oda himself has called Fujitora a swordsman. This tells us that you can have other abilities, but still, in the eyes of Oda, you are a swordsman, which means you are inferior to the world's strongest swordsman, Dracula Mihawk. I'm not going to be addressing Big Mom in this video because she's a tricky fighter to categorize, and I'm sort of on the fence with her. I don't mind people calling her a swordsman, and I don't mind people calling her an all-around fighter. If you guys do want me to address my thoughts on her, let me know in the comments and I'll do so in a separate video. Regardless, the notion that Mihawk's title is addressing purely swordsmanship or just sword skill is completely irrational, because we've had instances in the series that have made it very clear that physical strength, which also includes Haki by the way, is the deciding factor in a fight between swordsmen. Take Zoro's backstory for example. What was Kuina crying about? She was crying because she was born as a girl, which means her physical strength will naturally be inferior to a man's physical strength, and that is a severe disadvantage for her, and she wants to be the world's strongest swordsman. This basically tells you physical strength is more important than swordsmanship. A girl like Kuina can have masterful swordsmanship of the highest tier, but she'll be inferior to someone with substantial swordsmanship and superior physical strength. So I hope you guys understand, Mihawk's title is not a reference to his skill as a swordsman, it is a reference to his strength. He is the world's strongest swordsman. Sekai Saikyo no Kenshin. No way to dispute that at all. He is the world's strongest swordsman. If you call yourself a swordsman, or if you fall under the term swordsman, you are inferior to Mihawk in strength. This is Oda's words. If you want to dispute that, you can dispute that with Oda, because at this point all you're doing is calling Oda a liar and denying the facts that he has stated in order to fit your agenda. Anywho, let's talk about Shanks. As far as we know, Shanks is a swordsman. For someone to say otherwise would be appealing to ignorance in order for them to push their biased agendas. Trust me, I was a Shanks tard at a point, and I used to think he was the strongest person in the world, and I used to tell myself there's absolutely no way he's a swordsman. But the more you think about it, the more absurd and the more stupid it sounds. One thing I've heard a lot, from a lot of people, is that Shanks has very strong haki, therefore he's not a swordsman. This is actually kind of funny to me because it makes absolutely no sense. Every single high tier swordsman uses haki in conjunction with their swordsmanship. When Zoro asks Mihawk to train him in the way of the sword, what did Mihawk go and train him in? He taught him armament haki. The only flashback we've seen of Zoro and Mihawk training was Mihawk teaching him armament haki. It is quite clear that swordsmen require a very high level of armament and observation haki. The greatest armament haki feat we've seen in the series was from chapter 966, when we got the clash between the former Pirate King, Goldie Roger, who was a swordsman by the way, and Whitebeard. For the guys who don't think Roger was a swordsman, I don't understand how you can say that. He used a named attack with his sword against Odin and sent Odin flying. He used his sword against his rival Whitebeard, who was on the same level of power as him and was actually revered as the strongest man in the world. Do you honestly mean to tell me that Roger is hiding a secret fighting style and he isn't using his main fighting style against the world's strongest man at the time, the man who was viewed as his equal? That's also my main gripe with the Shanks argument. How can you say Shanks isn't a swordsman when he pulls out his sword in every single battle situation? Marineford, chapter 580, Shanks challenges the entire navy and Blackbeard to a fight. What does he do? He pulls out his sword. Marineford again, chapter 579, Shanks uses his sword to block Akainu's magma fist. Marineford again, chapter 552, Shanks in an Ace flashback reaches for his sword as he gets the wrong idea from Ace, who actually just wanted to meet him. So Shanks, preparing himself for a confrontation, reaches for his blade. Post Ennius Lobby, chapter 434, Shanks is shown using a sword in a flashback with Buggy. In the same chapter, we see him use a sword to clash with the world's strongest swordsman at the time, Whitebeard. So you guys, Shanks isn't a swordsman guy, he's a haki man. You mean to tell me that in every single one of these instances, Shanks was hiding a special ability, another fighting style that takes precedence over his use of a sword, another fighting style where he finally unleashes his true strength? Like, take a second, sit back and think about what you're saying and how absurd it sounds. If that's the case, then Whitebeard, the entire navy, Blackbeard, all of these people that have been built up to be monstrous in strength are just not worth Shanks' full effort. He doesn't need to try against these guys because they're that inferior. That makes absolutely no sense. That would mean Shanks is the strongest person in the series by a landslide. No other individual in the verse would be able to match this guy if he's portrayed equally with the world's strongest swordsman using his secondary fighting style, not even going all out. So Shanks is a swordsman and Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman. That honestly should be enough to convince you guys, but obviously I'm going to have to keep going because the One Piece community loves Shanks and they just can't fathom the fact that Mihawk is stronger than him. Something very important to mention regarding Mihawk's character is that he's a man who has reached the absolute pinnacle of power. The Viv Record outright states that Mihawk is waiting for the day a swordmaster emerges that surpasses his old rival Shanks. Oh look, even the Viv Record is implying that Shanks is a swordsman and that Mihawk is waiting for somebody stronger than Shanks to defeat him. If Shanks is stronger than Mihawk, then Mihawk's character arc is a complete contradiction. Think of it like this. Mihawk is waiting for the very person that can push him to the limits of his strength, the very person who can make him go all out and defeat him. If Shanks is stronger than Mihawk, then Mihawk's entire character arc makes absolutely no sense because then there would be a swordsman, Shanks, alive that can satisfy him and potentially beat him. Speaking of their rivalry, well, the rivalry that they used to have, why won't Mihawk duel Shanks anymore? In order for me to explain my thoughts here, I'm going to have to enter some headcanon territory, but it's going to be supported by canon information provided both in the manga and in the Ace novel. Considering Shanks fans have to pull out the most nonsensical arguments and scenarios fathomable in order to even begin to try and justify this blatantly non-existent superiority to Mihawk, I'm sure it's fine if I use some headcanon myself, especially since my headcanon actually has some reasons behind it, not just complete and utter bias for the character I prefer. Oh yeah, by the way, I like Shanks more than I like Mihawk, but when you power scale, you have to look at things completely objectively. Things aren't always the way you want them to be, and that's perfectly fine. Anywho, in the Ace novel, which is confirmed canon by the way, it is outright stated that Shanks gained most of his fame from his duels against Mihawk, the same legendary duels that Whitebeard referenced in chapter 434. This means Mihawk was much more famous than Shanks at the time because Shanks gained his fame from fighting Mihawk, not the other way around. This gives off the implications that Mihawk at the time was already the world's strongest swordsman and Shanks was challenging him for his title. Of course, this isn't confirmed. Like I said, this is my headcanon, this is the way I think it could have been. So in this scenario, Shanks was challenging Mihawk, who at the time was the world's strongest swordsman, and Shanks, being as powerful as he is, was able to satisfy Mihawk's needs. Mihawk is a man who achieved his dream and reached the pinnacle of power, and all he found there was disillusionment. Why do you think he lives the way he does and acts the way he does? Almost as if he is disattached from what's going on around him. Because he is just that successful. Have you ever heard the saying, suffering from success? Mihawk would be One Piece's living embodiment of that saying. After he defeated Zoro back in Baratie, what did he say to Zoro? He made an oath to Zoro and he said to him, "No matter how many months or years pass by, I shall stand here at the top of the world and wait for you." That is how confident Mihawk is in his own ability, in his own prowess, in his own power. There isn't a shred of doubt within this man that anybody alive can defeat him and prevent him from fighting Zoro down the line. He says, "I will wait for you no matter how long it takes." He makes an oath. And what's particularly impressive about this scene is that Mihawk he's a very smart man and he knows the seas very well. In Marineford, there's this fantastic moment where Mihawk is shown admiring Luffy and he says that Luffy possesses the power to turn those around him into his allies. And Mihawk calls this power the most dangerous power in the seas. The ability to turn somebody into your ally is the most dangerous ability in the eyes of Mihawk. How ironic is it to you that the man who is known for being alone, a literal one-man army, a man who sails around the world in a boat that resembles a coffin by himself, with absolutely no allies, Mihawk, the man who does not possess this terrifying ability, the man who sees this ability as the most dangerous in the seas, is that confident in himself to the extent that he can make an oath to Zoro to tell him that he will wait for as long as it takes. This is a true testament to what level of power Mihawk possesses. He will wait at the top of the world for Zoro to become strong enough to challenge him. Let's get back to Mihawk and Shanks though, because I did kind of go on a tangent there, but people really need to stop underplaying Mihawk. Stop downplaying him. Even if you don't think he's stronger than Shanks, you need to put this man on Yonko level at the very least. So back to this headcanon that I was cooking up. Shanks challenged Mihawk and being able to give him a good fight greatly satisfied Mihawk. He had finally found somebody worthy enough to call his rival. The disillusionment he felt from being so powerful had finally come to an end because there was finally a swordsman who could satisfy him. But then Shanks went and lost his arm. This made Shanks significantly weaker, and because of this, Mihawk felt betrayed. Mihawk doesn't want to fight Shanks anymore, ever again, because even if Shanks is stronger now than he was back then, Shanks is handicapped. That victory means nothing to Mihawk because if he beats Shanks, he didn't beat Shanks at his best. That's why he feels betrayed. He finally stopped feeling disillusioned and he finally had somebody worthy enough to call his rival, but then that rival went and lost his arm and can no longer fight at their best. Mihawk doesn't want to beat somebody who is handicapped, and this makes perfect sense going off of what we know. It was the exact same situation with Zoro and Kuina. When Kuina told Zoro that girls can't match up to guys in physical strength, he gets extremely upset. He says, "Doesn't this make me look like an idiot? I've been training all this time to beat you and you're telling me that if I do beat you, it wasn't thanks to my hard work but rather because you are handicapped?" You can plausibly apply this exact same mentality to Mihawk and you get the same scenario. Mihawk doesn't want to defeat a handicapped Shanks. That victory would mean nothing to him because this isn't Shanks at his best. So I've explained why Mihawk's title is infallible, why Shanks is a swordsman, why Shanks being stronger than Mihawk completely contradicts Mihawk's character arc, why Mihawk chooses not to fight Shanks anymore. What else is there to talk about? What is missing from this discussion? We've got Yoru, the world's strongest Black Blade. Mihawk and Ryuma are the only people so far in One Piece to have black blades, to have turned their blades black permanently. Roger, another swordsman, failed to do so. Whitebeard, who wasn't a swordsman but someone who used a naginata, a weapon, failed to turn this naginata into a black blade. Shanks, a man with a named sword, Griffon, hasn't turned his blade black yet. Odin, who I know a ton of you guys put on Yonko level, failed to turn Enma black, or even Ame no Habakiri black. Rayleigh, another master swordsman who was obviously Yonko level in his prime, failed to turn his blade black. Why? Why are these freakishly powerful individuals unable to turn their blade black? Some of these guys are most likely stronger than Mihawk, yet they couldn't turn their blades black and he could. The thing with this argument though is you can't really use it because we don't know what turns a blade into a black blade, but we know it's something the swordsman himself has to do. It has nothing to do with the blade itself, but has something to do with the user. The reason I say this is because Mihawk himself says, any blade can become a black blade. So this tells me whatever it is that turns blades into black blades, whether it be armament haki or the amount of people you slice or the amount of haki you put into your blade, whatever it is, Mihawk excels in that specific category where all those powerful individuals don't. Obviously though, the entire topic regarding this black blade stuff is far too vague for us to really use it in an argument, but the entire point of me mentioning this is for you to take in the very evident possibility that Mihawk is superior to individuals like Roger and Whitebeard in that specific category. I'm not saying he's stronger than them, I'm just saying in that specific category, he is better than them, so he might have superior armament haki. And I myself do believe it is armament haki, considering black blades just seem like blades that are permanently coated in armament haki, and Zoro said that hardness is one of its special characteristics. The last thing I want to address for you guys before I end this video is that people like to use this argument that Shanks is Luffy's end goal and Mihawk is Zoro's end goal, and it's impossible for Luffy's end goal to be weaker than Mihawk's end goal. And to this argument I say, what are you talking about, man? Shanks is not Luffy's end goal. Luffy's end goal is to become the Pirate King. In order for Luffy to become the Pirate King, he has to become much stronger than Shanks was. Now I'm not saying part of Luffy's goal isn't to surpass Shanks, because yes, he does want to surpass Shanks, but the end of the series, Luffy is going to be far superior to Shanks. He's going to be the Pirate King. Luffy doesn't view Shanks as a symbol of endgame strength. Shanks is his inspiration, and he's actually an obstacle that he has to pass before he becomes Pirate King. He isn't his end goal. Luffy has said himself he wants to be stronger than all of those that stand in his path, emperors and naval admirals. Zoro's end goal being stronger than Shanks isn't a problem. Nobody is saying that Mihawk is mid-diffing Shanks. That's absolutely absurd. It's an extreme diff fight between the two of them. They are on a comparable level, but Mihawk is superior. He is the overall stronger individual. That's it for today's video though, guys. I feel like I've made my stance clear and backed it up well enough, even though there's so much more that can be discussed in regards to this topic. At the end of the day, I can appreciate you guys who think Shanks is stronger than Mihawk, as long as you can admit that you have to pull a headcanon out of your ass in order for you to make that case. Because based on what we have, it is glaringly obvious that Mihawk is superior. Let me know in the comment section who you believe is stronger, Shanks or Mihawk. Give your own argument as well. This feels like a BDA Discord initiation. If you haven't joined the BDA Discord, by the way, make sure you join. I'm actually going to drop a link to that in the description, because this argument, this debate is thriving in that community. So if you enjoyed this video, join that Discord. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more One Piece content, join my Discord, the link to which will be in the description. I've been Fiji, peace.